Hello, for those of you that are new here, which is everyone. I am seeing if I can pay down the remainder of my student loan debt using trying out different side hustles. So far, what I have tried and I'm still trying is reselling on eBay and Poshmark. There's about a gazillion other sites that you can resell on, but those are the ones that I've chosen to focus on. In my first episode, I shared exactly how much I made. And now I'm going to talk about a few things that I learned in trying out reselling on eBay and Poshmark as a side hustle. These are things I've learned in my first month. As I continue, I'll continue to share what I've learned, if it's worth it, that type of thing. So without further ado, also, this is going to be a podcast-esque episode, sort of like the last one, but no real video. So good one to keep in the background while you're working or something like that. So the first lesson I learned is everything takes a minute to set up and get started. I've used eBay on and off throughout the years to sell odds and ends from my house when I was moving or to buy things for cheaper. I've bought a garment off there, that type of thing. My parents also sell on eBay as a hobby. So I figured out my password and figured since I have an account there already, that would be an easy one to set up. Well, lo and behold, apparently the last time I was selling, which honestly is probably close to selling, was about 10 years ago. And I guess I had a little invoice left to pay eBay. So until I paid that, I could not create or continue on my seller account. So it was $3 and some odd cents. I assumed all those things were paid automatically, so had no idea that I owed this debt to eBay. Sorry, eBay. And then once I saw that, figured, great, this is 2026. I'll just pay it off and start selling. Well, I don't know that it still goes this way, but I think because it was such an old invoice, I couldn't just pay it. I had to request an invoice, which took a few days to get, and then pay it through some convoluted process. So anyway, it's just a small lesson in thinking, oh, it's easy to just start something up. I already have the platform, and there's just always going to be some hurdles at the beginning. But I think the other lesson in that is just keep going. Just expect that and keep going. Don't be deterred by the fact that everything doesn't just flow super easily. And then it took me a minute to start figuring out how to list on eBay. I've done it before. The platform's changed a little. I also want to be transparent, especially when selling things like nice art, about whether there's any flaws or things. And just little stuff you learn as you go, like people want the measurements of things. Duh, makes sense, but just takes a few more minutes to do. And now that I've been listing things, I have my tape measure easy to access and tape, like packing tape in the same place, and scissors, and those types of little things make stuff flow a lot quicker. I'm digressing, but the point, just lesson number one, was just that things are slow at first. Even comparing my speed of listing at the beginning of the month to the end of the month, so much faster. Same thing on Poshmark. I hadn't used Poshmark as a buyer, though lots of my friends do, and hadn't sold on there. So it's just learning a new, different platform. It just takes a minute. It's not even hard. You just feel slow. So that was my first lesson. And then the next thing I learned, which is very important considering I'm trying to do this to pay off debt, and I know a lot of other people are probably thinking about reselling to make more income, not less money. And so lesson number 2 is you might get attached, or you might see things you like on these platforms. So in other words, you might end up wanting to keep things that you've purchased or purchase things off of eBay or Poshmark that you see as you're perusing. I think that's normal. I did end up buying a bunch of things off Poshmark because there were great deals on stuff that I needed, like bathing suits. But I do want to be cognizant of that going forward, that I can't buy every cute little outfit that Poshmark feeds to me. And they get to know you, so they start feeding you things they know you will like. But I've been good since then, and honestly, I got a great deal on my bathing suits, and I'm supporting fellow resellers. So I feel good about that, but I think that is a lesson to be cognizant that you might get attached to the things that you purchased or the things that you see while you are listing, and just to keep the end goal in mind. If it's truly just have some fun, have some spending money to spend on places like Poshmark and eBay, go ham. If you're wanting to turn a profit, then just be aware that I think for people, probably for most people, especially if you're a shopper, and I wouldn't even consider myself a big shopper, there's a natural tendency to see things you like and want to buy them. And that bleeds well into the third lesson that I learned, which is math matters. And so it's easy as you start making sales to get stoked. Like, I sold something for $107. Oh my God. That I bought for, I'm trying to remember now if it was 10, I believe. I talked about that in my last episode. We'll just call it for now. But you also have to factor in these platforms, eBay, Poshmark, they take a percentage of your sales. And then depending how you listed your items, you might be, hopefully you're covering shipping, but there's times that either you didn't charge enough for shipping, so you have to add a little more cost, or you have to buy supplies for shipping, and then that adds cost. So that's just to say that what you're bringing in is not your income, that's your revenue, your gross, that's the total amount you're bringing in, but to figure out how much your net profit, and then how much you're going to pay yourself out of that, your income requires a little bit of math, and it definitely keeps you honest, right? Like, it's not terrible, but I sold something else for $70, and my profit on that, because I reused shipping supplies, was $56. Still pretty great. I was very happy with that for one item, but it's just important to keep in mind. Got to do the math. I did create a spreadsheet for my sales, which will help with that, because over time, as you may have noticed, you forget the exact numbers around your sales, and to be able to have a list to quickly review if I want to share the information, or more importantly, for the end of the year come tax time, and just to assess, is this a worthwhile side hustle? So let's think, what number are we at? 4 is the lesson I learned is there's a lot of platforms, and different platforms are better or worse for certain items. Transparently, I'm still figuring that out. There's a ton of people, it seems, on YouTube selling. I've learned some things there. And then also just sort of being in the social atmosphere, you know what you're for what friends use what platforms. But because I have a pretty intending eBay and Poshmark seems to do a lot better for me on women's clothing. It just turns faster, and accessories like purses, than eBay. Although I did yesterday have my first clothing-ish shoe sale on eBay, and I have sold hats on there, but no, pants or shirts or things like that. eBay definitely people go to for collectibles, and they even have some sub markets for, I believe, cars, and then trading cards. Those are things that I know nothing about, and I'm not planning to get into reselling, but if those are the niche you're planning to sell in, it's great to know that people are going to eBay to buy those things, and that might be, you probably want to list your trading cards on eBay and not Poshmark. And then the 5th, and hopefully I'm counting right, lesson learned is why you'd specialize or niche down. So I was thinking, whatever, I'll sell a little bit of this and a little bit of that. That is what I've been doing. I pick up things that I think might sell, or have honestly just been cleaning out my closet a bit, and that's been helpful. But as I do that, I realize, I'll figure out a way to ship quickly, like clothing and things like that. Get a little poly mailer, and you can actually get, at least as of the recording, free mailing supplies from Poshmark. So that's pretty easy. And then you get to something like, I sold a piece of art that I wanted to ship flat. How do I do that? And that's getting cardboard pieces. Different people do it differently, but it just took a little extra brain work. That was actually a pretty fun project for me to try to figure out. But you can understand, particularly people that are wanting to do this full time, why they niche down, because you can get very good at, you can get faster at what you're doing, right? Like if you're only selling trading cards, you can just buy shipping supplies for trading cards, and you can have your process for packing down to a pat go super fast. And you can also figure out where you're sourcing those things from versus feeling a little bit all over the place. So I haven't niched down yet, but I do understand a lot better why people do. And then also there's some self-education in all of this. And that's one of the things I actually think is very fun is investigate. What do you look for in pottery? Or how do you tell if in, it is the end of the day and my words are escaping me. But how do you tell if a piece of art is a print or an original if you don't have that information? So things like that. But as you're self-educating, it's more efficient if you're focused on a certain type of good that you're selling. Say it's pottery, you can just dive super deep into learning about the pottery market versus having to learn about 10 different markets and what people are looking for and what's valuable. Certainly some trade-offs with niching down, and it might not be possible in every category, but a lesson learned was understanding why people might do that and specialize. I think I ran across someone when I was looking at YouTube's, well, a few that are, there's definitely hats is a common one. Just for purchasing, I saw someone selling postcards on eBay. They're just, thousands upon thousands of postcards, which I don't know them, but if you're looking for a gift, that would be a cool gift for someone, a vintage postcard from a place they like. But yeah, those are 5 things. Train of thought, because I have not gotten to the being able to edit stage of this yet, but 5 lessons that I learned in my first month reselling on eBay and Poshmark. If this was helpful, or you can see my potential in creating helpful content, go ahead and subscribe. And if not, best of luck to you.